All right, welcome to Crypto Market News. I'm your host, Decentro, and we are in Singapore right now with Luca Gubo, CEO, and
Gasper Steve.
It's Gasper. Sorry, I've been calling you Jasper. Okay, Gasper Steve, CMO of blogtrade.com. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be in Singapore, hey?
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
a special place.
So we're one day away from Money 2020. I consider this to be one of the most important fintech events, possibly of the decade, because of what's happening in the world right now with blockchain. So it's really good that you guys can take the time to talk to me. Let's get right into this. So it looks like blogtrade.com is set to launch April 2018 as a cryptocurrency exchange. Now I got to ask you, there's right now, I just checked on coinmarketcap.com, over 9,200 cryptocurrency exchanges.
Yeah, and definitely more to come.
More to come for sure.
Yeah.
So what is going to set BlockTrade apart from the rest of the pack?
Yeah, so if we're talking about the rest of the pack, currently most of them are totally unregulated, which means that it goes with the flow of decentralizing things without having some authority to prove or to give some stamps on companies that would like to trade or to be a crypto exchange. But we have a different view, we have a different path to bring institutional money to the crypto markets. If we want to bring institutional money from professional traders to like classical brokerages to high frequency traders and so on, to these crypto markets, to crypto assets, we need a license. And this license means that we need to build a fully functional exchange with all the rules, all the laws and everything. So this is basically our path to achieving a bit higher penetration in a sense of institutional money, not so much from the retail side, but of course retail is always welcome, and we have seen in the past couple of years that the retail can trade a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the ESMA, the European Securities and Market Authority certification, is that something you have already, or is that coming?
We're in the process. We just applied, so it takes a couple of months for them to go to all of the documentation, which it's quite a lot of it, so it will take some time, but this year I assume we will get the license, and then we will be able to connect, let's say, brokerages to our platform, to our exchange, and basically all retail traders who currently trade stocks and ETFs and so on will be able to trade Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies via their existing brokerages.
So are you looking to get the timing right? You're expecting that to come in April, that certification?
That would be perfect, but when you're talking to regulators and everything, it's not that simple, so it will take some time.
Right, so can you describe the process of actually jumping through all the hoops to get the certification?
Yeah, so essentially what you need to have is prepare all the documents that are demanded by the regulator, which is written in MiFID II. So MiFID II is just like a law that's essentially from the 3rd of January this year, and there is just, it says if you want to be like a trading facility or a regulated exchange, you need to have this, and this. So one really large part is the government's part, so we need to have independent board members, which of course we have. The board members and the whole company has to be competent to build such things, which means that previous experience is also really important for the regulator to approve the members of the board and the management, and then of course all the technical details from reporting to even clock synchronization has to be by the laws. So quite a detailed thing to do.
And from what I understand, it looks like you guys may be the first regulated and licensed exchange in the EU?
Yeah, so if we're talking about the European laws, I think we will be the first.
Okay, right, cool. So it looks like you guys are lining up or already have the technology to handle 1 million trades per second, which is phenomenal and apparently outdoes NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're clearly lining up for institutional grade investment. Do you have any institutions lined up who are interested once you get regulated and licensed to join on board with BlockTrade?
Yeah, so we have a couple of them. We are already in contact with them. We have quite a lot of interest from high-frequency traders because...
What was that, sorry?
High-frequency traders.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so because they would love to have basically an exchange where they can use their algorithms and the exchange can handle them.
Okay.
So currently you have most of the exchanges have quite slow backends, which means they can process relatively few orders, updates, or trades per second, and our backend can handle quite a lot.
Right. Do you know of any exchanges right now that can handle HFTs?
There might be some of them. I know Binance says that they can handle a lot, so but still it's not only the backend, it's also the surveillance system which you have to set up if you're like a fully regulated entity. And also when we're talking about the surveillance system and the reporting, it's not only to have like REST APIs, you have also need like fixed or fast protocols, which means it's quite a lot faster for traders to put their orders in.
Okay, just as an aside, according to Max Kaiser, the high-frequency trading environment really smashes down the independent traders like me. Does that mean anything to you about what your system could potentially do to the market?
Yeah, so this is an interesting point, because if we're talking about high-frequency traders, you probably heard about what they did in the US amongst other exchanges. So they they were front-running the trades or the orders that retail traders put in, because they basically had a faster connection between Nasdaq and, let's say, New York Stock Exchange than the exchanges themselves. So you place an order on Nasdaq, and they would basically front-run it to New York Stock Exchange and put up just like push up the price and so on. So that's a different kind of high-frequency traders. But if we're talking about what they are doing on the exchange itself, like building the order book and providing liquidity, that part is essential for every market to function well. So yeah, there are a lot of strategies that are called high-frequency trading, but there are also tools and methods to like disable front running and other market manipulation, and this is a part of market surveillance. That is basically also written in the laws in MiFID II, which says, okay, you need to prevent these types of orders and these types of market manipulation, and this is what definitely we'll be doing.
Okay, so you want to cater to the high-frequency traders, but also keep it fair as according to the regulations.
Yeah, of course.
That's great. That's good news.
Yeah.
So according to the website, the user data is protected by the Swiss Federal Data Protection Act, the DPA, and the Swiss Federal Data Protection Ordinance. What does that protection mean to regular people around the world who, like me, living in New Zealand, I might want to use your platform for trading? What do those protections actually mean for me?
Yeah, so in the end, our backend and all the data is stored in Switzerland. So if you, let's say, okay, New Zealand is maybe not a great example, because I don't know about the government there, if they like to do some surveillance stuff and so on.
Yes, they do.
Okay, interesting. So
it's legal
they might have some problems getting the data from our platform. So we still, of course, as we are regulated, we have to be transparent and everything. If you do some shady stuff, we will have to report you, like all regulated entities have to. But if they would like just to check, okay, what are you doing on the exchange, it's not possible for them to do it.
Okay, great. So that's sort of in line with the traditional and stereotypical idea of a Swiss bank being more or less of a private vault.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that. So on your website, there's a statement that says "ready to disrupt." Can you expand on this idea of disruption? Or is this your forte, Gasper? Disruption?
It's Tim's forte. So we expect to do something differently. We expect this blocktrade.com that should be a new platform, different than anything other that we can currently see on the market. So even though you mentioned there is 9,000 different exchanges right now for people to use, we expect to be on top 5 in next year. So
okay, right.
Yes,
that's a big goal.
It's a big goal. We are ready for it. Our team is expanding. We are preparing everything for it, and as soon as we'll be able to add all the institutional traders, like Luca mentioned before, I think that's a reasonable goal for us to get and to reach.
Right. That's fantastic. So, getting into the top 5 realm of exchanges, I got to ask, are you going to have a stock offering for your company? Are you going to go public at any point?
That's maybe some point in the future,
right.
But currently
no plan for that.
Not in a current roadmap.
Right. That's just as an aside, because I am here on this trip to get some good information for my personal investing as well.
So we are currently focused on building the best product, which means we are of course looking for great developers for like to join to the team and to bring some additional value. So this is our main focus, and later on we will be thinking about expanding also maybe somewhere else.
Okay, I want to talk about the European Central Bank.
Yeah.
So central banks seem to be the exact antithesis of blockchain and decentralized technologies. For example, can you imagine if the ECB launched an ICO and pitched all of their selling points of how they behave now? In the industry as it is now, an ICO of that nature would be a complete joke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
That's the way I see it anyways. So how do you think the ECB will look at blocktrade.com and as far as your goal to disrupt the financial arena in Europe?
So that part of crypto assets being traded is not in the domain of the ECB. So yeah, ECB might have some different views on decentralization of basically money and everything, but on basically what we are doing is just enabling retail traders and institutional traders to basically exchange crypto assets. So in the first part we will be focusing of course on cryptocurrencies, but later on we will be focusing on crypto assets in general, which means that if you have your own startup, currently if you want to do an IPO, it will take some time and money and effort to do it, but our goal is to simplify it just the way that ICOs are doing it, but to put it into like a regulatory framework, which means that you can do an ICO, but it will actually be a mini IPO, and your token will represent a part of your company. So this is, of course, a bit medium to long-term goal, but it's definitely achievable, and we are aiming for that part.
Right. It's sounding more and more like what Coin has set up in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. I really hope you get to meet Mike Kiyomori during this week.
I will definitely reach out to him.
You should. You should definitely. Okay, great. Do you foresee legacy finance getting in the way of what you want to do?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I was with Gio, who is also a team member, was on a conference called like World Exchange Conference, and it was in Oman, and there was like all of the old financial world was there. So from Nasdaq to Zimbabwe Stock Exchange to the guy from Namibia and also Germany, UK, everywhere, and they represent the old exchanges. And it was an interesting experience because as we talked to them, everybody was like really supportive of the idea, but they said, we cannot do this. You are a startup, you are really agile, we are like large and fully regulated enterprises and cannot offer such solution to our members and traders. So it's really interesting because we actually got support from the guys who we are disrupting.
Wow, that's really good news. I don't know if you saw today on Cointelegraph.com, there was an article about Finnish exchanges basically getting completely frozen because there's no banks that want to do any work with them. Do you have any comments about that? And you guys are based in Liechtenstein? Yeah? Can you foresee any problems like that, or do you have your fiat to crypto gateways sorted out with the banks you want to use?
We are just like New York Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange. Will be fully regulated and licensed entity, which means that all the banks are really happy to do business with us because we have proof, okay, we are regulated, which means we have internal protocols and everything set up so that everything that happens, it's fully transparent. If an audit comes in, we have everything documented. Okay, we are doing this because of this. We have internal regulations and everything, so it's not a problem from the side of the banks. And I understand them in the Finnish case, but it's probably the government there doesn't like crypto, and this is why the banks are putting the pressure on the crypto exchanges there.
Yeah, it's really positive to hear what you're saying. I feel the cryptocurrency trading community really freaks out when the word regulation is in the headlines. And it's like fear and loathing in Las Vegas. It's like the end of the world that the governments want to regulate. I talk to my wife quite a bit about these things, and because I can get sucked up into the panic a little bit. And it's she likes to remain calm. She's Japanese, so she's very calm, and she's like, what is wrong with everyone? This is such a good thing that the government wants to regulate it. It's so positive because in the end, we're all going to get to do what we want to do, but it's going to be legitimate, thus allowing institutional grade money to come into the industry. Do you agree with my wife?
Yeah, I definitely agree with your wife, and we always have to agree with our wives. But the point on the regulation, if you, let's say, look at most of this specific type of regulation, they have one goal in their mind. So what it is investor protection. The first couple of paragraphs of MiFID II is everything about investor protection, and all other specific things is how do you provide basically the protection for the investors. So if we are just looking at the regulation as just a basic standard which you have to set up for the investors and traders to be protected, I think this is quite an essential thing for other also crypto exchanges to get such approvals. But if we're talking on too much regulations, this is of course a super stupid thing, and we probably all can agree that in most parts of the world there is too much regulation, and it's also problematic when it interferes with the freedom. When you're trying to do something and then which is totally legitimate in a sense of both parties agreeing, but then government comes in and says, okay, this is not supposed to be done because somebody says so. So that part is quite problematic.
So I'm sure you heard in Japan, the Japanese government is penalizing a bunch of cryptocurrency exchanges, which led to a massive crash in all the markets. If you really looked into it, they just want to protect the consumers, and that's all it is. And what a positive thing. Yeah, I agree. I want to switch modes here and talk about your app. The app for mobile devices. So it's commonly said that blockchains are secure themselves, but the devices we use to interface with blockchain are not secure. Do you have any plans to integrate with a technology like Rivets that specifically uses blockchain to secure the devices themselves? Is Is that on the cards for?
No, but what we will do is, what we are doing is to have multiple like security points, which means that if you would like to withdraw with your phone from the app, let's say bitcoins or also euros and so on, we will have a couple of security checks before you can do this. So in a sense, losing the private key is using basically the app is not possible if you lose your phone, and also if you lose your phone and you set up the like two-factor authentication and everything, it's like really hard for somebody to break into your account and then to take anything out from the account. So we have like internal protocols, and also embedded inside the code is like really strict standards regarding the securities, and we also will be having an external audit regarding all these protocols and everything.
Okay, cool. Money 2020, I've shared with you, I personally think this year in particular, and the event in Singapore is the most important event of the decade. What do you feel about that statement? Do you think, well, you guys are here,
yeah,
you know, you must think it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Am I overdoing it by stating it's possibly the most important event of the decade? I just feel 2018 was a turning point. What do you think?
It will present different technologies again. So if you are saying Money 2020 as a single event, I don't totally agree with you, but there's like 10 different events on the same time in Hong Kong.
It's busy this week.
Yeah.
It's very busy. Yeah.
So I don't know if I agree that's the most important, but for sure 2018 will be the breakthrough for the blockchain.
Okay, so my statement, I've got the timing right. It's just not just in Singapore.
Yeah, it's not just here,
yeah.
It's all over the world. And why we're doing the regulated thing, because let's say in next year or even in this year, everyone will go to this side, to regulated side, because I think all the governments and the banks will like figure it out that that's something that will happen in future. So they have to, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yep.
And that's the thing that's going on right now. So we are seeing at the different conferences, banks coming in, all the financial regulatories and stuff just coming in, gathering information to implement in their own system. So yeah, I agree and I disagree.
Yeah, cool.
with you. Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in Singapore, and I've studied the history right from Raffles himself and the reasons why it's always been a hub of innovation and freedom really for finance and economics. So just the location for me, I think it resonates quite nicely with what I know about this place. Cool. So you have a concept of bringing a basket of top 30 cryptos, and you want to present the top 30 cryptos to institutional grade investors. What does that look like when the top 30 cryptocurrencies change every week? I mean, of course, you've got a pretty solid top maybe 15 now, but the bottom 15 of the 30, you know, what does that basket look like when it's changing so much?
So you have a couple of views when you're talking about the top 30. You can take a view, okay, we will select up front top 30 and we will hold it and not change it as much. But you can also have a different view, which is like, okay, let's just say top 30, and we will select it like every week, every month, whatever the time period is, and rebalance it. So these are like just two different views on the market, and it depends. We will be implementing, first of all, not all top 30, so we will probably start with top 5 and later add others. So it's just a way of investing. So if you want to be a bit more active, you then of course change. If you want to be like fully passive, you go with top 100 and just wait for a decade and retire a millionaire probably.
Yeah.
It's just a method, like an index way of investing, and we will bring the index funds to the whole world. So
right.
This is the main goal.
Okay, so your index, from what I understand, will be a bit of both.
So currently
hodling and sort of looking at new stuff that might come up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. What are your top picks for 2018?
I cannot comment on that because as a CEO of a regulated exchange, I cannot comment.
Okay, I appreciate that. What about you, Mr. CMO?
I'll go with Luca and I'll keep it for myself.
Interesting. Okay. So my next question was going to be low market cap picks for 2018. I personally, my strategy has been to do the research to find low market cap gems, and I call it stealth purchasing. I accumulate as much as possible during a flat line, and then just sit back and wait for things to boost nicely. But you guys don't want to share any.
Yeah, but what are your picks, and then we can maybe comment on that.
My low market cap picks.
Yeah.
Mainly at the moment rivets. I don't know if have you heard of rivets. So rivets interfaces directly with Intel processor chips.
Okay.
There's the TEE, Trusted Execution Environment, in the chips. So they are releasing in Q2 a developer's kit for any blockchain-based project to utilize the TEE through rivets to what they say is bring cybersecurity out of a legacy mode and into more of a next generation mode. That would be one of my picks. I like Mysterium for the fact that it's decentralized VPN services, which I've always felt the crypto community would value, and it seems like they were top 10 on GitHub for accessing their source codes for several months now, which is a good indication that I am correct as far as the support goes. Still sort of waiting for things to really boost. I've been a very long time supporter of Stratus because even before people were thinking about how this is going to go towards institutionalization, I discovered in 2016, they literally were one of the first projects for me that were really gearing towards institutions using their technology to interface with blockchain. And off the top of my head, I can check my portfolio. I like to, it's been a big mistake because I boosted with Stratus and diversified too quickly. And of course, watching what ended up happening, it's like, wow, I really should not have diversified. So all my attempts to de-risk my situation ended up really, not really messing me up, but so yeah, I probably hold about 20 cryptocurrencies. Only about 5 or 100 million plus market caps. Cash is very high on the list for me, out of Japan. And yeah, that's about it. I'm sad. I really wanted to hear your top picks for 2018.
Yeah, but
it makes sense.
I like your way of thinking because, in a sense, what you're speaking about is like value investing inside the crypto markets, which is, of course, really hard to implement because you do not have like all the methodologies and all the analysis tools which can be done on the stock markets, but still like waiting for the times to be like right and not rushing into the markets is probably a good way of thinking about it.
Cool, thank you, I appreciate that. Well, that's it for today's interview with Luca and Gasper. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys today. Best of luck at Money 2020.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and follow Decentro on Steemit and Twitter